Nobody likes the wait bot. Okay, we're standing by for a couple of minutes. Looks like we got kind of a light crowd today, but that's all right. We'll still have some soapboxing. I was just invited to join a show during my show. That seems kind of weird. Well, here we go. So I am Alonzo Bodden. I want to welcome you guys to the Soapbox. Thanks for dropping in. Can you hear me? I think you can. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Just making sure. So, as I was saying, welcome to the Soapbox. This is your place to rant, to bitch, to moan, to complain, or to compliment. Things can be good or bad, whatever it is. It's your soapbox. Just take a couple of minutes to jump up here. You can do it through audio, or you can do audio and video, and tell me and tell our group what's going on. So it is nice to see you guys. It's an interesting soapbox for me today in that I don't really think I have much to complain about. I know it's hard to believe, but not much has annoyed me since seeing you guys last week. As a matter of fact, one of the things I'm tired of is me. I got to learn to, they call it Rule 62, don't take yourself so seriously. And it's not so much me taking me seriously as it is kind of the, I don't know, weight of the world, the news, just too much information, too much reading. I mean, if you read the news on a regular basis, how do you not get tired? They're still covering Trump and all of his bullshit and financial problems. And we've got Ukraine and Russia, like we were talking about this last night in the green room. It was great, by the way. I was talking with some young comics in their 20s, and they were talking about the government and stuff like that. And one of them, he has this whole bit about, I don't care who our leader is, just stop with the old guys. Why are old guys leaders? And they were talking about, Biden's older than their grandfather. And I was like, well, given the choice that we had last election, Biden is definitely the lesser of two evils. But and I got to play old guy and talk to them about Russia and Ukraine and the Cold War under Reagan and how the Republicans have changed. Trust me, under Reagan, the Republicans would not be supporting Putin. They're just doing it because of their hatred of Biden and the separation we have. But anyway, my point being, and by the way, it was nice to hear them engaged at their age. I don't know if in my 20s I was that engaged, but now I am. And I'm not going to lie, it gets tiring. There's no break, right? The Olympics, now we got the drug testing and drug scandal going on in the Olympics. I just want to watch some skeleton, maybe some luge. I love the sledding races in the Olympics because the announcers talk like they have some control. Let me tell you something. Once you lay on your back on a luge, you are aboard a missile. I don't think you're doing much steering. But anyway, it's me. It's me. I got to just lighten up, less information, not take all this so seriously. I haven't even gone into our dealings with the Supreme Court, which anyone who's listened to me knows I get the reason I get tired of the Supreme Court or angry about the Supreme Court is no one's paying attention to what they're doing as they're destroying. The Supreme Court's supposed to protect the Constitution, not destroy it. It's supposed to protect people's rights, not remove people's rights. And that's what's going on now with voting rights, with abortion rights, etc. And there's no outrage. There's no outrage. There should be outrage. And the ridiculous talk about the ridiculous talk. Beth, I'm going to invite you to be a producer. Thank you. The ridiculous talk against having a black woman on the Supreme Court. And for that matter, they're losing their minds. Did you see the Super Bowl halftime show? It was a great show. It was a great show. And it was fun. Apparently, it was a downfall of America and it's some kind of sexual thing. And people, I was just reading a thing today. Again, just got to stop reading about how that's not music. Like, how old are you when you start yelling, that's not music? Okay, if you ever feel the urge to say, that's not music, shut yourself up. Just stop it. All right, listen, there's genres in music I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of country music, some of that heavy metal and this and that. I can't get into it. Doesn't mean it's not music, means I don't like it. I'm not here to say you can't do it. Listen, if the Super Bowl decides to have, Metallica do the halftime show, good for them. Good for them. Do it. If you don't like Snoop and Dre, it's not the end of the world. I'm sorry that your kids like them or your grandkids like them and you don't. You'll get over it. I saw a really hilarious meme about the Eminem Fox wants, which is the green Eminem in go-go boots, and the Eminem they can't stand, which is the rapper Eminem at the Super Bowl show. It's hilarious. So any and everything is I get too involved in it. I got to stop reading it. I got to take a break. I got to get more sleep. I am not getting enough sleep. So my main rant this week is against me. Man, I got to get my shit together. I am my biggest problem. So I need to do something about that. Another thing that this is more of a minor annoyance. It's at my best, it's comical. At my worst, it's annoying. And it's people who just feel the need to tell you bullshit stories. And this is definitely an LA thing because in LA, everyone wants to be associated with some celebrity. They want to give you their celebrity encounter or their mother's cousin, sister's ex-husband knows the barber of so-and-so. It's an LA thing, right? You got to name drop and all this shit. And it's this guy, I'm walking my dog this morning. And this guy, I have a Great Dane, as most of you know, but if not, I do. And he's like, yeah, I grew up in Westlake and Red Skelton. If you're old enough to remember Red Skelton, God bless you. Red Skelton was a comic back in the 50s and 60s. I think he passed away in the 60s. Old school. And he's like, Red Skelton had a Great Dane and he used to put a saddle on it and his granddaughter would ride it around the neighborhood. I'm like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Okay, he didn't have a saddle made for a Great Dane. His granddaughter might have had a pony or something, but you just felt the need to give me your bullshit story of a Red Skelton encounter. Who are you impressing? Man? I remember when I used to be Flip Wilson's dog walker. What kind of bullshit is it? But people feel the need to do it, and it's really annoying. There's no need. How about just, how you doing? And keep on moving. We don't have to tell each other bullshit stories, but in LA you do. You have to give your celebrity encounter story. So I guess he's friends with Red Skelton's granddaughter's Great Dane saddle maker. Yeah, I'm going to use that one. I'm going to use that. My cousin used to make saddles for, who should I use? Red Fox. My cousin made the saddle that Red Fox used for his granddaughter on a St. Bernard. Why not? Rajiv, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. You are on the soapbox. I will invite you to video. Whether or not you use it is entirely up to you.
Am I on? Yeah.
You are on audio and you can do video if you'd like.
Should be. Let me see. I think
you are now. Yeah. Whoop, you were, and then you disappeared.
Let's try it again. Oh, did I? Okay. Accept. Okay. Am I? Yeah.
You're on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm just adding 2 cents to it from your beginning. When you started initially talking, and just personally, you rattled off a bunch of things that is in the news, and it's just a personal thing, and it's just thing I challenge myself every day with. But a couple of years ago, I listened to, my wife is involved with education, and she had a gentleman who came and spoke, and it really was about, and I'm going to try to find this for you, about living a complaint-free life. And, he gave this little band to us, little rubber band you put on your, on your wrist. And the idea was, can you go a day without complaining about something? And, I was able to I got off some of the social media stuff that tends to constantly portray a lot of these negative things, right? And we get worked up about. And it's a struggle. Every day is a struggle for me. I in my discussions with my wife and my children, invariably we get into complaining about something. Oh my God, this happened or this happened, and the world is going south all the time. But it was a way to help, and I think there's a lot of great things that go on every day. There are great people doing wonderful things. I mean, I listen to you on NPR, and that's one of the best hours I have. And nobody's complaining it too much there. It's just great stories of great people doing wonderful things. My wife is, like I said, involved in public education, and it's such a joy listening to these kids doing just fantastic things every day. So, it's just a personal thing. I love you. I love, your stuff you do. And, I'm just listening here, but I'm just saying sometimes, we ourselves create our own problems because we are reading too much into things. We are chasing
Oh,
things. We don't see a solution. So we get frustrated. But then, at the end of the day, my day is pretty good. I do the things I need to do. I talk to my clients. I have fun. I do my running with my friends. And so I sit there going, as much as I see all this, in my own little world, it's okay. Life is good. So just 2 cents, but I'll continue listening to you.
thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And how do you pronounce your name?
Rajiv was fun. Yeah, you got it right. You got it
Okay,
right.
Rajiv. Thank you, Rajiv. For and you're exactly right. That's what I'm talking about. I'm taking it all in and taking it too seriously and complaining too much. Now, some of the complaining is professional, Rajiv. As a comic, I can't be satisfied with all of it. I got to make fun of it. And you're also right about NPR. They specifically, when we do wait, they'll do serious stories, but they don't do really serious negative stories because there are some things you can't joke about. So that's why we hit a lot on politics, and because nobody cares about politicians, we can pick on them. So Rajiv, thank you. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for being a fan. And yeah, man, I'll be all right. But you're right. That's why I complained about me this week, taking it too personal, getting inside and bothering me. My life is good, man. I'm shooting for that level of my dog where you eat, you walk, and you sleep. He's got it figured out.
Not to just to end on a small note. I mean, I'm a huge sports fan. I love sports. Like you said, I'm watching Peacock, and I love. I mean, there are some really good shows with the Olympics. Just learning all these incredible things human beings can do. That I can't even imagine humans can do that type of stuff that goes on in the Olympics. People, jumping up in the air and spinning, and I mean, this is just magic. But then you turn on to ESPN, and the biggest draw is a guy who is just screaming at people because they dropped a ball or they kicked the ball a little
Yeah, I
left.
know. I know.
So what I'm trying
Stewardess.
to say is
I'm
we for some reason, this, I mean, sports shouldn't be that. Sports, I mean, ESPN should be hugely positive things going on, but you turn it on and every show, other than the live action, is somebody bitching about somebody missing a catch. Like,
I know. Well, part of that is because they're gambling a lot of money on that, and you miss that catch, they might not eat this week. Listen, I got to move on to the next one, but thank you, sir. Thanks for dropping in. Jeff, I believe you were next. I'm going to call you up, Jeff, and I am listening. I just have to go downstairs and let the lady who's training my dog back in with the dog. So don't worry, I'm listening. There might be a little bouncing as I'm moving. Rajiv, thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, all good.
You're on, Jeff, and you are invited to video if you'd like.
There we are. We're here. We're outside. I like it. I was going to do my dance, but I thought, no more dancing. I've done enough of that stuff. I was listening into all that you were saying, and it's funny. I'm in the fashion industry, and I've been there for about 3 decades. And somebody was talking to me about, hey man, you got to be able to name drop and really kind of get in and network. And I'm bad at that stuff. I mean, I feel like if you don't want to, work with me, then the heck with you. I just kind of move on, which isn't probably the best attitude to have. But you're right on. I think, we all have these. I was talking in another room earlier, and Paul was in there, Paul Vadu, who's up here on stage. And we were talking about, everybody's got problems. We all got issues, and we all got things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And I wanted to share how important it was to just lean on each other, as much as you can. So leaning on each other is a little bit different than going and saying, hey, how could you help me? Or let me share a story with you or whatever like that. But it's almost like being vulnerable and saying, hey, I was sharing this. I'm a family of 5, my wife, me, and 3 teens. And we probably should eat together more. You know what I mean? Just to be there as a family unit. And I've been talking to other people, that may not, maybe they grew up in a family of 5 or grew up in a family unit of whatever amount. And I go, how do you do this? Because while I did it as a kid, I wonder how can I translate that and do it in my family? But, it all comes down to just being able to lean on each other and share and add value and coming in rooms like these and Fireside's just been wonderful. It's just been great and being able to see, which is wonderful. I get to see you and see everybody else share. So anyway, I wanted to add that. I'll pause the mic on that one, but this is a great space. Thanks for pulling me up. And I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's just a real great value add. And that's important more now than ever, I would say.
That's cool, Jeff. Thank you very much. Hey, everybody, let me take a break for 1 second. Take care of this crazy animal. The soapbox is staying open. I'll just be off for 10 seconds. Keep talking, Jeff. Keep him entertained.
Oh, yeah, we can keep him entertained. That's no problem. I can do that. Alonzo, that's no problem. But, I think one of the things that we've always talked about, I was in a room earlier about nutrition. And, it's a big part. I've been in the fashion industry for 3 decades, and that was a big part of my life. It still is. It should be. But, it's hard to do that. There's certain things that you do, and there's certain ways of going about it. There's all these different ways that you can maintain eating and your diet and stuff. And then there's nutrition, the fitness piece of it. And, there's all these different ways to doing this. And I think it's important to recognize that it doesn't have to be one way, as long as you're being consistent in whatever you're doing. And I think that's important to do. But anyway, Paul, what are you doing up here? How you doing, Paul?
Jeff, I'm back. Thank you. I appreciate you covering for me. And I appreciate what you said. And yeah, the positivity and the connection is probably something we do lose. And I don't have kids, but I've read about it. I talk to people with kids. And one of the things, I guess, a difference today from earlier is there is a lot more distractions, right? Like we didn't have a phone. We didn't have a computer in our hands that connects us to the entire world. And that makes it a little more difficult to connect. And also they can't imagine not having that, right? So it's the digital age has definitely created a divide because some things people might consider rude, like looking at your phone. There's a generation that considers that absolutely normal.
Yeah, like sitting at the table and kind of looking at their phone, but they're sort of listening. You're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Well, you pay attention, but that's normal.
My niece, and when she was 16, she and her boyfriend we were at dinner, right? We're in a restaurant, and they sit next to each other, texting each other. This was absolutely hilarious. So, Howie Mandel would happen to be at the restaurant, and I know Howie. So Howie comes over to say hello to me and says hello to, people at the table. He's a super nice guy, whatever. I know I talked about name dropping stories, but this one, there's a reason for it. And this one actually happened. And he left. So later, my friend Ava, who I call her daughter, my niece, because we're friends forever, she said that they were texting to the boyfriend's parents that Howie Mandel was at the table. And I was like, yeah, and if you had stopped texting, you would have met him.
They're like, oh, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Nice to meet you. Meanwhile, they're like,
yeah, they're literally texting, oh my God, Howie Mandel is here. It's like, well, you could have actually met him, maybe even got that selfie. Because, Jeff, if you don't post it, it didn't happen.
That's
All right.
right.
You know the rules.
Yep. Totally get it. Like, what he said he did this. They said that they did this, but I never saw it on their Instagram, and I never saw it on their social media posts. But I know I totally get that, and it's funny. We're talking about all these little circumstances and situations. That's the bad stuff, I guess, of social media. But there's so many good things.
Definitely, there's tons of good. Tons of good that is shared. I had something this week, and it was sad, but I'm glad it was posted. Some friends of mine, their whole family got hit with COVID, and they've been like the mom is in a coma, and it's really bad. And without social media, I wouldn't have known. And tons of their fans have been reaching out to them, and wouldn't know. We wouldn't know without that. And then there's also so many great stories that happen. So it's not all bad. Like I said, my rant isn't toward the news, isn't toward social media. It's toward me, reminding me to stop it. And one thing I will say that from the day Facebook came out, I've always said, this isn't real. This is high school. There's the cool kids. There's the sexy kids. There's the jocks. There's the gossips. You know what I mean? Like every group you had in high school exists on Facebook, just sitting there talking shit. So thanks a lot, Jeff. Thanks for dropping in. Let me get Paul up here, and I appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate that. Thanks for bringing me up. I really do.
All right. Paul, you are up. You're invited to the video if you'd like. Julie, you got lost in there. I am sorry, Julie. My video is covering you up. I'm going to get to you next.
Go on, Alonzo. I'm listening. Yeah, go on, buddy.
All right, let me.
No?
This is odd.
Wait, Paul, you're kidding, right? You're like Alonzo. He's on the phone and he's like totally messing with you, like as he's texting and talking at the same time.
Oh, we ain't worried about Paul. We're gonna invite Julie to video. Julie's been waiting. Are you there, Julie?
Paul.
There you go. Sorry about that, Julie. We're going to go with you first, and then we're going to go with Paul. Paul's got a bigger name on the other line.
Oops. I had 2 accept buttons. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. We can't see you, but that's up to you.
Well, no, I hit accept, and then another one came in, and I hit accept to that, too, and it actually went away. So,
all right. We're going to give it one more try. You've been invited to video. This should do it.
Okay. And it looks like I'm dark. Can you see me now?
There you are.
All right. Look, I got the sunlight behind me. Hey, it is such a treat to talk to one of my favorite people, Alonzo. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I ever were to call in on Wait, Don't Tell Me and win and get to choose someone on my voicemail, it would be hands down you, for sure. So. I came in late, but I did hear you guys talking about education, and that was kind of a good timing because I want to rant about high school voc tech programs. I have a 16-year-old son. He is on the autism spectrum. Like he was diagnosed with this when he was young. He's super high functioning, but he has ADHD. This is not a good student. This is a kid who does not like school. And we applied for the automotive program at the voc tech for next year. And the way this works is the school district has to release him to go because it's like a special program that services all of the school districts in the area. And they had this meeting with us and with my son, and they were talking about how, this automotive program in particular, it's very competitive, and they only take the kids with the best grades and the least number of absences. And I was thinking, like my older boy is in a carpentry apprenticeship program, and he told me, Mom, I remember in high school they always told us, you've got to, even if you're going to be a construction worker, you've got to have really great grades and math and reading. And he said, my foremans can't add 2 + 2 without a calculator. It's just not true that everybody needs to be this great student to work in trades. And what I was telling the meeting today, and this was with the voc tech program and his teachers and stuff, is I was like, this kid needs a passion. He needs to, he's been passionate about cars since he was a toddler. And that's kind of a function of autism where they get really fixated. And if he has a passion, then he will have that motivation and feel confidence to succeed. And, he'll learn everything that needs to be done to be successful in that program because he'll love it. And, I just got really frustrated with because the program is competitive, and I live in a very, very red, rural, farming area. And I mean, of course, it's, the VOCTEC programs are competitive because that's, what a lot of the kids are going into. So they should find a way to involve these kids that, I told them my son's not going to go to a 4-year university, but if he gets confidence going to this high school VOCTEC program, maybe he'll go on to the college, community college VOCTEC program and get all these certifications and, work on fancy cars and stuff. Anyway, it was just very discouraging because I think they're acting like we used to live in Bellevue, Washington, which is like, top echelon school district.
I know it.
Yeah, right. So we lived there. So it was very competitive in a different way. And I feel like they're doing a real disservice to these kids. I have 3 kids, and my daughter, she graduated from Bellevue. She got full ride scholarships all the way through grad school. She's just an academic rock star. And then my middle boy was like a really bad student who could, but he excelled in sports and he found his niche. And then my youngest, who just, I'm just going to be dragging him through every last credit. But he does have things that really appeal to him. And it's really frustrating to have his own school system trying to hold him back from that. So thank you for letting me vent.
Thank you. And I'm sorry the situation's so tough. The thing that comes to mind is I think your son's very lucky to have you as his advocate fighting to get him into this vocational program. And I hope he does. That's the education I have. I don't know if you're aware of this. I went to a school in New York called Aviation High School, and they trained us to be airplane mechanics. And I graduated as a licensed airplane mechanic, and that was my first career. And those schools in New York City had a bunch of those schools. Obviously, the most famous one was Performing Arts, which the show Fame was based on. Mm-hmm. And I know people who went to Performing Arts who now have big careers in music and entertainment. But we had schools. We had an automotive high school. We had a vocational high school that taught things like plumbing and electrical. And you had to test to get into any of these schools. And then they changed it and they stopped doing the testing, and the quality of the education in the schools dropped. They kept the programs, but within the school, you had to test to get in the program. So I don't know what the situation is with you. I think it's a great idea if he loves cars and he has any kind of flair for mechanical work. You trying to get him into this school is a great thing. It can be great for him. I'm sorry that they're making it so tough. I think a lot of times when we deal with school boards and administrations and administrators and stuff like that, you're dealing with people who look at a lot of paperwork, don't look at people. So hopefully you advocating for your son will be the human difference that gets him in. Good luck, Julie. And feel free to come here and rant. You can drop in and curse out the school board if you want. It's okay in the soapbox. Good luck to you. Okay, now I'm going to switch over. Paul, now you're back on. And let's hear what you got. Hello, Paul.
Oh, my apologies. Oh, there we go.
There you are.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Just kidding. Good to have you here, man. It is so good to listen to you. I've been a big fan of yours for a very long time. I've always loved stand-up comedy and the art form that it is. I'm an improviser. I do sketch and improv, but I got into it by mistake because I wanted to get into stand-up and just ended up at an improv school in Chicago as opposed to stand-up. So, I mean, your career and everything. And I think my silly question was, do you speak Spanish? It was something that I just wanted to know, but
no. Well, no. It's funny you asked that. So I took Spanish in school, in junior high school, but I never really learned to speak Spanish. The funny thing about that is my dad was from Honduras, and
Right.
he obviously spoke Spanish, but he came to the United States. Him and his family came at a time when you would drop your culture and assimilate. So they never spoke Spanish around us. So we didn't grow up bilingual, which would have been fantastic. So when I speak Spanish, I sound like an American struggling to speak Spanish. I had a job in Puerto Rico for about 4 months back in the 80s, and I would attempt to speak Spanish, and they would just say that we speak English. Don't do that to our language. Whatever you're doing, don't do. So
Oh my goodness. Well, it would have been difficult anyways, because if you know Puerto Rican Spanish, it's quite different than someone from Mexico or Honduras.
yes,
Central
yeah,
America. So
different dialects depending where you're from.
exactly. I'm in the cigar business as well, besides being an actor, and we get a lot of tobacco from Honduras. They make amazing tobacco. They grow amazing tobacco there. So when I knew that you were Honduran, I think that was where that question came from. So I hope you don't mind. And
No,
for sharing that.
No, I don't mind at all.
Are you going to come out to? I'm in Vegas right now. Have you performed in Vegas, or are you coming?
Oh yeah,
out?
I work all the time at the Laugh Factory, at the Tropicana, and at Brad Garrett's club at the MGM. So I'm trying to remember. I think I'm in Brad's. Oh, I'm coming back to Brad's in August, because that's the best time to visit Vegas, in August, when it's nice and balmy, comfortable weather.
So comfortable, especially for a heavier guy like myself. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I was there. I was there 4th of July weekend when Vegas reopened last summer. When they did the wide, and it was so funny. So I'm working at the Laugh Factory at the Tropicana, which is the best view of the MGM, where Dave Chappelle is at the arena. And there are so many people, the cops are directing traffic. And it was like, oh, good. And I may draw 50 people tonight. So as a comic, you just don't want to work. You don't want to work across the street from Dave Chappelle, which is just life's way of reminding you that, well, you're not the best. He is. And I love Dave. So I'm kidding about that. But it was funny to watch the crowds coming to see him. Because Vegas that was the weekend Vegas reopened to everybody,
You were in Half Baked, no? Wait.
No. I wish I was. No.
Did you work with Dave Chappelle? For some reason, I thought you worked with him in a movie or something.
No, I never worked with him in a movie. I've worked with him. I've done shows with him, and I've known Dave for a long time. He is he's an incredibly nice and approachable guy in ordinary life. Like Dave lives Dave's life. I used to say one of the funniest things about Dave, there's a huge comedy festival in Montreal called Just for Laughs every year in July. It's one of the biggest comedy festivals in the world. And Dave was there, and he was getting around Montreal on a skateboard. This, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, whatever. And all I was thinking is how many people were like, hey, that guy on the skateboard looked like Dave Chappelle. Right? Because you wouldn't think Dave Chappelle is riding a skateboard down the street in Montreal. It was just hilarious. I'm sure a bunch of people were like, wow, that guy looked like Dave. I wonder who that was. But he's that kind of guy. He's very cool, approachable. I mean, now his life is so big that it's crazy. But to this day, whenever I see him, bump into him, we talk, we're cool. And I got nothing but love and respect for him. He's the GOAT right now, as far as I'm concerned.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. If you have time, I mean, I have a lot of questions I could ask, one or two more, but it's what? Actually, that story reminds me. I guess John Malkovich has a similar thing where he says people come up to him all the time and they're like, "You look like John Malkovich." He goes, "Do people tell you that?" And he's like, "No." And then they're like, "I'm sorry, that's a horrible. I'm not an impressionist." And then they're like, "Well, you sound like him too. Do people tell you that?" And he's like, "No." And then he's like, "I am, John Malkovich." And they're like, "No, you're not." Yeah. Like he tells them that. But what comedians do you look up to? Or I would say maybe, of course, I think we all maybe have a lot of the similar ones in the history of stand-up comedy. So maybe speak to one of those that are maybe no longer with us, but also any contemporary stand-up comedians that you admire.
Well, we get, comics, we get asked this all the time. And what you're talking about is a long list. I will tell you the comic who influenced me, who died way too young and influenced a ton of us, is Robin Harris. Robin was the quickest mind and the greatest shit talker that you can imagine. And Robin was someone who I watched before I became a comic. And I liked Robin. Another one who passed away far too soon, Patrice O'Neil. Patrice, when you talk about the comic, we comics had nothing but respect for Patrice. He was just a beast, brilliantly funny guy. Flip Wilson, very underrated. And I learned something at the African American History Museum in DC, which if you ever have a chance to go, if you haven't been, you have to go. It's amazing. But I didn't know this. Flip Wilson was one of the first Black entertainers to own his own TV show. He owned the Flip Wilson show and made a ton of money because at that time, I think people didn't even think about that. And he was quite a businessman. And the other thing was, and again, you have to remember Flip Wilson to remember this, Geraldine
in drag. He was doing drag.
Do you know why he stopped doing Geraldine?
I don't believe I've heard the story.
So Geraldine got bigger than him. He heard the applause when Geraldine, to those who don't know, was a woman that he would play. Flip Wilson would play this woman and she talked nothing but smack. It was a great character. And he said when he heard her get more applause than him, he never did it again. He just stopped. Done. And that's pretty amazing because if you were around, if you remember Geraldine, that was huge. That was before Martin did it, before Jamie Foxx did it. And Geraldine was, she could have had her own show.
100%. Because I remember the Flip Wilson show. I mean, I think I grew up on it. Remember my parents watching it. And of course, Geraldine being one of my mom's favorite characters, like, that's a man. That's really a man, explaining it to us. But it was, hilarious. Wow. Such history.
Well, if he did Geraldine now, there'd be a whole trans cross-dressing thing that he'd have to address. And it would be, it would just be a mess. There'd be people complaining and it'd be, who knows what would happen. In today's society, a Black male playing a Black woman with attitude, but being straight, I don't even think it'd be worth the trouble, Paul.
No, I hear you. I have a drag character named Barbara Coa, which is Spanish for barbecue. It's like barbacoa, but Barbara Coa. And I wanted to be like the first straight guy on RuPaul's Drag Race. And I'm kind of glad I didn't even, and I have friends that work on the show. I'm glad I didn't try it because someone just caught a ton of backlash for even being, a straight man in a drag show where that preaches, inclusivity. So you're right. I mean, I don't know if that's a good example or not, but yeah, I don't think it could be done.
I have no idea. I wish you luck.
Thank you. I'm not going to do it.
All right. Thanks for dropping in, Paul. Thanks for getting up on the soapbox, man. We'll be back.
You got it, my friend. Thank you so much.
Right.
Much appreciated.
Sure. Let's see. We got anyone else? By the way, I just learned how to move around my video screens in the fireside chat, which makes it a lot easier to talk to people. Almost lost someone who was waiting in line and their picture was behind ours. So continually learning and happy to have you here. We got about 5 more minutes, people. Anybody else? Anyone got a rant, got a beef, got a compliment, complaint, whatever you got? This is your soapbox. I'm here for you. I'm getting texts while I'm in the soapbox. I could do that thing of looking at my phone while I'm supposed to be talking to you guys, what we talked about. What we talked about earlier. Anyone else with kids? Anyone else have kid stuff? Oh, here's Deborah. Deborah, welcome. I will invite you to video. It is up to you whether you use it or not, but welcome to the soapbox.
Hello. I just took my dogs for a walk. I'm outside, but I wanted to tell you how great you being a guest. Was it Tammy?
Yeah, on Tammy Pascatelli's 3 a.m.
That was so good. I basically just wanted to come up and say kudos to you.
Oh, I love Tammy. We go back over 20 years, I would say, and we did Last Comic together, and we've done a bunch of other shows and stuff together. Tammy is fantastic. So yeah, that was really fun. So thanks for tuning in on that.
That's all I really wanted to say.
All right. Well, have a great day and a great walk. Anyone else? Man, I got all kind of stuff going on. Something just popped up that Trump must testify under oath within 21 days in New York. See what I mean about news? I get too much of it. I don't know. You guys think he's going to testify? I don't think he's going to do it. I think being an ex-president has insulated him from any criminal prosecution. I know they say that they're not above the law, but in practice, I think we've seen that they are above the law. So I don't know. I just think New York State prosecutors just like taking Trump's money, and I'm okay with that. They're good at fining him. Trump University, anyone? All right, we got a few more minutes. Anybody choose to close out the soapbox today? Everybody. I was asking if anyone had kids to relate to what Jeff was talking about families sitting together for a meal like the old days. I don't know. Probably isn't the same these days. I know growing up that I think when I hit about 13, my mom was like, all right, this isn't a restaurant. So if you're here when I cook, you can eat. If not, you'll figure it out. Wendy, we're happy to have you. I will invite you to video. It is up to you
I'm
whether or not
driving.
you use it.
Oh, well, I'll do it. I don't really care. Hey, everyone. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to comment. That's really great. I just joined into the show, but I was in the show where Jeff was talking about, or we were talking about, having the family dinner. You better be home by 6:00 kind of thing, right? And I have two boys, one's 30 and one's 40, but yeah, that family unit, what happened to that, Alonzo? Where'd that go? It's so important to how we live our lives and connect as humans. It's just so sad. The other thing is turn off your notifications if you don't want to get so much news and be bothered all the time. Turn them off.
No,
So anyway.
I joke about my reaction to it. No, I like to be informed. And it is, it is part of my job. I mean, I'm a comic and I love doing topical stuff. So I kind of need to know what's going on. So again, my rant wasn't about that information. It was just about me getting too caught up in it at times. As far as the family unit, I just think, times change and people have become more busy and lives have become bigger. So people aren't home the way they used to be. I mean, there was a time when your life centered around home. And I think now at a certain age, you just start getting out and doing your own thing. And also, I think it's a function of where you are. If you're in a city or if you're in a more rural area, it could be different. It's up to the individuals. There's a lot of people who still have family dinners regularly and deal with it. And then there are other people who are on the go all the time and everyone's doing their own activities.
Single mom, 2 kids, the whole shebang. So totally get that whole dynamic, right? But it's just interesting how, from the nutritional standpoint, is where that conversation came from this morning, was where does it begin? Like at what age? And we as parents aren't really guiding our kids to have the proper, nutritional value in the home because we're on the go, we're buying fast food, we can always stop at Mickey D's, that kind of thing where, and then we got into food around the world and other places and the culture and how we live. My husband's Italian. I've lived all over the planet. And how in America, we're just some unhealthy people. So we were just kind of trying to distill it down to, is it about maybe we do need to reconnect with the family unit and not make excuses that technology suddenly got in our way, kind of thing.
Well, we have a different set of values. You know, a long time ago, I was in Spain at this coffee shop in the afternoon, and this guy said, "Listen, you Americans live to work, we work to live." And to me, that was the simplest way to break it down. And it was like, I cannot argue with you, sir. You are exactly right. So it's culture. We are a different culture than a lot of places in the world. We're a culture of do, achieve, and that takes a lot of time and energy. So thank you, Wendy. Listen, I want to get Jose in because we've got to wrap up the show. So he jumped up. I want to get him in really quick. Thanks for dropping in the soapbox.
Hello,
Jose,
thank you. Hi.
Jose, you are invited to video, and you're going to be our big closer.
Okay, I'm going to decline that invitation.
That's fine. Audio is cool.
All right, great. Thank you. I have dinner with my family almost every night. Granted, there are just 3 of us. But our kid gets home from school late. He's 13. So it's really important for us to spend that time together before he has to get ready for bed. You know, practice guitar, do homework, whatever he's got to do. But I still can't get them to not turn on the TV because they just want to watch, you know, whatever we're watching as a family now. So these last couple of weeks, it's Raising Dion on Netflix, which is great, but I'd like to talk to my kid. You know, even if he doesn't want to talk to me. But at least we're together. And I think there's something to be said about just being in the same room with your loved ones to show that you acknowledge them, that you care. So that's all.
All right. Well, thank you, Jose. And as far as watching too much TV, I think that has been the complaint since they invented TV.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Jose, thank you to all the participants. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Soapbox. We will be back. I'm pretty sure. Well, no, wait. There may not be a show next week because I am traveling next Thursday. So I don't think there'll be a show next week. But keep an eye on your RSVP. If I'm available for one, I'll schedule it. If not, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thursdays, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. This is the Soapbox. I'm Alonzo Bodden. Get your complaints ready or your compliments. We take the good stuff too.